Admiral Ho stood at the observation deck of the Earth Defense Station, watching the alien ships approach. The delegation had arrived exactly on time, their sleek silver vessels gliding through space like predators. He had fought these reptilian beings for 30 years. He knew their tactics, their weapons, their way of thinking. That was why his instincts screamed danger. "They want peace," Ambassador Jin said, joining him at the window. She was younger than him but sharp. Her eyes missed nothing. After 3 decades of war, they suddenly want peace. "Nothing is sudden with the," Ho replied. His hair and hands told stories of countless battles. "They plan everything." The meeting room was cold and formal. The Ambassador X sat across from them. His scales gleamed under the lights and his vertical pupils watched them without blinking. 2 others stood behind him, silent and still. "Honored humans," X began, his voice hissing through the translator. "We come with an offer of friendship. The Galactic Confederation welcomes Earth as a full member. All we ask is simple cooperation." Jin smiled politely. "We appreciate the offer. What does the Confederation require?" X slid a data pad across the table. "The peace accord is straightforward. Humanity removes all military installations from your outer colonies. In return, you gain full protection under Confederation law and unlimited access to galactic trade routes." Ho picked up the pad and scrolled through the document. His jaw tightened. Every military base, every defense station, every armed ship in the outer colonies had to be dismantled. The colonies would be completely defenseless. "This is quite comprehensive," Jin said carefully. "We would need time to review it with our government." "Of course," X said. His mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "Take all the time you need. We only ask that you decide within 30 days. After the left, Ho called an emergency meeting. The room filled quickly with Earth's top military and intelligence personnel. Dr. Young Ho arrived last, carrying several data chips. He was a thin man who rarely slept, always buried in information and patterns. "Tell them what you found," Ho said. Young Ho activated the holographic display. 3 weeks ago, we intercepted communications from space. They are moving ships, lots of ships. We estimate over 3,000 warships gathering at their forward bases." "That is their entire fleet," Captain 1 said. She was small but fierce, leader of Earth's special operations teams. "Why mobilize everything?" "Timing," Young Ho continued. "The fleet movements began exactly when the first proposed this peace treaty, and according to their supply logs, they are preparing for a major operation 90 days from now." The room fell silent. Everyone understood. "It is a trap," Jin said quietly. "They want us to remove our defenses, then they attack." Ho nodded. "Our outer colonies have 70% of Earth's rare mineral production, especially iridium and quantum crystals. The economy is failing. They need those resources." "So they cannot conquer us in open war," said Commander Mina, an intelligence officer. "But if we voluntarily disarm, we hand them everything." "What do we do?" asked Engineer Sangwoo, who designed most of Earth's defensive weapons. "If we refuse the treaty, they attack anyway. If we accept, we are defenseless." Ho walked to the window. Beyond the station, Earth floated in the darkness, blue and beautiful. Billions of people lived there, trusting him to keep them safe. The outer colonies held millions more. All of them depended on the decisions made in this room. "We play their game," he said finally, "but we change the rules." "What do you mean?" Jin asked. Ho turned back to face them. "We sign their treaty. We dismantle our bases just like they want. We give them everything they ask for." "That is insane," one protested. "Let me finish," Ho said calmly. "We give them what they ask for, but only what they can see. Young Ho, how long until their attack?" 90 days after treaty signing, based on their logistics." "That gives us time." Ho began packing. "Sangwoo, can you hide weapons in civilian structures?" The engineer thought for a moment. Mining stations have powerful reactors and industrial equipment. Yes, I could modify them. They would look like normal operations from outside. Mina, can you plant false information in their intelligence networks? I have assets in place, she confirmed. What do you need them to see? Complete cooperation. Show them exactly what they expect. Humans following the treaty perfectly. Make them confident. Jin started to smile. You want to set our own trap. Exactly, Ho said. They think they are hunters. They think humans are prey. Let them believe it. When they come to feast, they will find something else waiting. Young Ho pulled up star charts. The outer colonies are spread across 17 systems. We would need to coordinate everything perfectly. One mistake and they will know. Then we do not make mistakes, Ho said firmly. 1. Start preparing your teams. You will need to operate behind enemy lines. Sangwoo, begin designing your hidden defenses. Make them look like anything except weapons. Mina, feed their spies exactly what we want them to report. What about the actual treaty signing? Jin asked. You will sign it, Ho said. You will smile and shake their claws and make speeches about peace and cooperation. Give them the performance of your life. Make them believe we are naive and trusting. And our people, someone asked, the colonists who will see their defenses removed. Ho's expression hardened. We tell them the truth, every single one of them. They deserve to know the danger, but we also tell them the plan. Humanity has survived worse than we will survive this too. The meeting continued for hours as they planned every detail. Ships to be hidden, weapons to be disguised, intelligence to be leaked. It was the most complex operation Earth had ever attempted. As the others filed out, Jin stayed behind with Ho. This is risky, she said. If we are wrong about their intentions, we waste resources and damage relations. We are not wrong, Ho replied. I have fought them too long. They do not offer peace from kindness. They offer it from calculation. And this calculation says we are easier to defeat if we disarm first. And if the trap fails, if they detect our preparations. Ho looked out at Earth again. Then we fight anyway, but at least we fight on our terms, not theirs. Jin nodded slowly. When do we start? Now, Ho said. They gave us 30 days to decide. In 30 days, I want to be ready to shake X's claw and sign away our defenses. And I want him to believe every word we say. The war was about to begin, but this time humanity would strike first. The signing ceremony was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Ambassador Jin wore formal diplomatic robes and her warmest smile. Beside her, X's scales gleamed under the camera lights. Behind them stood representatives from a dozen Confederation species, all watching this historic moment. Today marks a new beginning, Jin said into the cameras. Her voice was clear and hopeful. Humanity joins the Galactic Confederation not as warriors but as partners. We embrace peace. We choose cooperation over conflict. X's translator carried his words smoothly. The Empire welcomes our human friends. Together, we will build a better future. They signed the peace accord on digital displays. The document glowed with both their marks. Across human space, people watched and wondered if this was truly the end of the war. Admiral Ho watched from his command center, hidden deep in an asteroid base. Around him, screens showed the ceremony and a dozen other feeds. Captain Dongmin stood beside him, arms crossed. She is a good actress, Dongmin said quietly. He commanded Earth's largest battle group, 50 heavy warships that were supposed to be decommissioned. She believes in peace, Ho replied. That makes her believable. She just knows this is not real peace yet. The observers arrive tomorrow, Dongmin said. My ships are ready to play dead. Over the next 30 days, they watched everything. Their observers traveled to every human military installation in the outer colonies. They carried scanners and cameras, documenting the dismantling process. On Titan Colony, massive platforms were broken apart. Crews worked slowly, carefully separating components. The observers recorded everything with satisfaction. What they did not see was engineer Sangwoo's teams working in the tunnels below, installing the same weapons in reinforced bunkers beneath the ice. The trick is simple, Sangwoo explained to his crew. They know what military weapons look like, so we make them look like mining equipment. This plasma cutter, actually a close-range defense gun. This ore processor, actually a missile fabricator. Everything has two purposes. At Europa Station, Commander Mina played her role perfectly. She was officially the human liaison to the observers. She showed them everything they wanted to see, answered all their questions, and carefully fed them false information. "Yes, this is our last defensive satellite," she told an inspector, pointing to a station being towed away. "All weapons removed, just like the treaty says." The inspector scanned it thoroughly. Clean. No weapons detected. He marked it approved on his data pad. What the scanners missed was the satellite's power core. It looked like a standard civilian reactor. It was actually a prototype weapon that Dr. Young-ho's team had designed specifically to avoid detection methods. 20 more satellites just like it were being decommissioned and moved to civilian salvage orbits around the colony. Captain One's work was more subtle. Her special operations teams had been training for months. Now they deployed across the outer colonies, not as soldiers but as civilians. "You are miners now," she told her team on Callisto. "You work in the tunnels, you complain about your shifts, you drink at the bars, and when the time comes, you know where every weapon cache is hidden and exactly how to use them." 50 teams spread across 17 systems. They became part of the population, invisible and waiting. The hardest part was the ships. Captain Dongmin commanded the largest visible military force. The treaty required all warships to be decommissioned. They wanted to witness their destruction. "Give them a show," Ho ordered. So they did. One by one, Earth warships were ceremonially destroyed. The observers watched as fusion reactors were removed, weapons systems dismantled, and hulls stripped. Some ships were even scuttled in deep space, exploding in brilliant flashes. What happened behind the scenes was different. The ships marked for destruction were already outdated. Earth's and most powerful vessels never appeared on any registry they had access to. They were built in secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields and dense nebulae. Dongmin walked through one such shipyard, deep in the belt. Around him, 30 warships floated in various stages of completion. These were not the old designs. These incorporated every lesson learned from 30 years of war. "How long until they are ready?" Ho's voice asked through the comm. 60 days, Dongmin replied. "But they will not be pretty. We are focused on function." Pretty does not win battles. In his laboratory on Earth, Young-ho barely slept. His team worked around the clock analyzing fleet movements. The enemy was gathering exactly as predicted. More than 3,000 ships now sat at their forward bases. "They are preparing logistics for a 6-month campaign," Young-ho reported during a secure briefing. "That means they plan to occupy, not just raid. They want our colonies permanently." "Troop transports?" Ho asked. "Hundreds. They are bringing an invasion force." Jin was in the briefing too, looking tired. She had spent weeks performing for cameras, always smiling, always cooperative. "What about other Confederation species? Do they know about this?" "They are keeping it secret," Mina reported. "Their official story is a training exercise, but I have intercepted communications suggesting some species are suspicious. They are moving too many resources." "Can we use that?" Jin asked. "Not yet," Ho said. "If we reveal the trap too early, they might change their plans. We need them to commit fully. We need them to attack exactly when and where we expect." Time passed quickly, 50 days after signing, 60 days, 70. On the surface, the outer colonies looked defenseless. Military bases stood empty. Defensive satellites were gone. Warships had been destroyed or removed. Reconnaissance drones flew freely, reporting back that humanity had with every term of the treaty. Below the surface, a different story unfolded. Every colony had hidden arsenals, mining equipment that could transform into weapons at a moment's notice, civilian reactors ready to power military shields, underground bunkers connected by secret tunnels. Sangwoo stood in one such bunker on Ganymede, inspecting his work. The chamber looked like a storage facility for mining equipment, but at the touch of a button, panels would slide away to reveal missile batteries capable of taking down capital ships. "It is beautiful," he said to his assistant, "though we'll scan this 100 times and see only civilian infrastructure." "What if they get suspicious?" the assistant asked. "They will not," Sangwoo said confidently. "They think humans are simple, direct. They expect military bases to look like military bases. They cannot imagine we would hide weapons inside civilian structures. It is not how they think." 80 days after signing, the observers began withdrawing. Their inspections were complete. They had seen everything they needed to see. The human outer colonies were defenseless. X sent a final message to Jin. "The Confederation thanks humanity for your cooperation. You have shown true commitment to peace. The Empire looks forward to profitable relations." Jin read the message and felt cold. Profitable. That was the word that revealed everything. Not friendship, not cooperation, profit. "They are coming soon," she told Ho. "I know," the Admiral replied. "Young Ho's latest intercepts confirm it. Fleet departure in 5 days. Arrival at our colonies in 14. Are we ready?" Ho looked at the tactical displays showing all 17 colony systems. Red dots marked observers leaving. Blue dots marked hidden human defenses. Green dots marked civilian populations who knew the truth and were prepared to fight. "We have done everything possible," he said. "Now we wait for them to take the bait." Across the outer colonies, humanity held its breath. Miners went about their work. Stations maintained normal operations. Everything looked peaceful and ordinary. But under the surface, weapons were armed. Soldiers were positioned. Ships were ready. Captain Woon sent a final message to all her teams. "Hold discipline. Act normal. They think we are sheep. Let them believe it until the moment we show our teeth." Day 85, fleet departs. Day 90, human long-range sensors detect them approaching. The trap was set. Now both sides waited to see who was really the hunter and who was prey. Day 89. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Titan system. 3,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, blocking out the stars. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever faced. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander On studied his displays with satisfaction. The human colony lay before him, peaceful and undefended. His scanners showed exactly what he expected: mining stations, cargo haulers, no military vessels, no defensive platforms, nothing but easy prey. "Send the surrender demand," he ordered. "Tell them to evacuate immediately. Any resistance will be met with destruction." The message broadcast across all frequencies. On smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. This would be the easiest conquest in history. The humans had foolishly trusted the peace treaty and dismantled their own defenses. In the command bunker deep beneath Titan's frozen surface, Admiral Ho watched the fleet on his screens. Around him, his officers waited in tense silence. This was the moment they had prepared for. "They are broadcasting their surrender demand," Young Ho reported. "Let them wait for an answer," Ho said calmly. "Dongmin status." From his hidden position in the belt, Captain Dongmin replied through encrypted channels. "Fleet ready. All ships powered up and weapons armed, waiting for your signal." 1. Ground teams in position. Captain 1 reported from her location inside a mining tunnel. We control all critical infrastructure, ready to activate defenses. Sangwoo. All hidden weapons are online, the engineer confirmed. Power levels stable. They still register as civilian equipment on scanners. Ho allowed himself a small smile. Then let us show them what a real trap looks like. Activate defense network, all systems. Across Titan Colony, transformation began. Mining stations that had looked harmless suddenly bristled with weapons. Panels slid aside to reveal missile batteries. Ore processors reconfigured into platforms. Industrial lasers meant for cutting ice rotated toward the sky, now weapons capable of slicing through ship armor. The change took 15 seconds. The fleet had that much warning. "What is this?" On shouted as his displays lit up with weapon locks. "Where did these defenses come from?" "Sir," reading massive power surges across the colony. "We count over 200 military-grade weapon systems." "Impossible. We inspected that colony ourselves." The first missiles launched from Titan's surface. Not the slow, predictable weapons they expected, but new designs that Sangwoo's teams had spent 3 months perfecting. They accelerated at speeds that should have torn them apart, guided by quantum-encrypted systems that could not jam. 30 ships died in the first salvo. The missiles punched through shields that were designed to stop conventional weapons. Explosions bloomed across the enemy formation. "Return fire," unordered. "Destroy those platforms." The fleet opened fire, but their targeting systems found nothing but chaos. The human weapons were firing from positions that did not match their scanners. Heat signatures appeared and disappeared. Defensive stations that looked civilian suddenly became military targets. "Target locks failing, sir. Their signatures keep changing." "Then fire at everything. Level the entire colony." But before the main guns could charge, space itself seemed to tear open. Captain Dongmin's fleet arrived, emerging from faster-than-light directly behind the enemy formation. 30 warships that were supposed to be destroyed appeared like ghosts, weapons already firing. "Surprise," Dongmin said quietly and pressed the firing stud. The new human ships were ugly and brutal, built for function, not beauty. But they were fast and deadly. Experimental plasma lances cut through shields like they were paper. Point defense systems intercepted return fire with inhuman accuracy. The fleet tried to turn and face this new threat, but their formation was too rigid. Ships collided with each other in the confusion. Communications filled with panicked orders. And then Captain One's team struck. Inside 18 different capital ships, humans who had been planted as trade envoys and cultural observers months ago finally revealed themselves. They had spent all that time learning the ships, mapping systems, making friends with crew members. Now they moved with lethal efficiency. On the carrier Dominant Pride, One herself led a team of 5. They moved through maintenance tunnels the never guarded. 3 minutes after the battle started, they reached the ship's primary reactor controls. "Charges set," her demolitions expert whispered. "Blow it," One ordered. The explosion was surgical. It did not destroy the ship, but it crippled the reactor. Power failed across the entire carrier. Shields dropped. Weapons went offline. The massive ship became a floating target. The same scene repeated across 17 other capital ships. The fleet, already confused by the hidden defenses and unexpected human fleet, suddenly lost a significant portion of its command and control structure. Commander Mina watched from Earth, but her role was just beginning. For months, she had carefully planted computer viruses in systems. The viruses had been dormant, undetectable, waiting. Now she activated them. Across the fleet, coordination software began to fail. Ships received conflicting orders. Sensor data became corrupted. Targeting systems locked onto friendly vessels instead of enemies. "What is happening?" On demanded as his own displays showed contradictory information. "Engineering, fix this." but there was nothing to fix. The viruses were deep in the system, disguised as normal code. Mina had learned programming from years of intercepted communications. She knew their systems better than they did. The battle became a slaughter. They had superior numbers, but they were blind and confused. Their rigid tactical doctrine could not adapt to chaos. They expected humans to fight like civilized species, with formations and protocols. Instead, humanity fought like survivors, like people who had studied their enemy for 30 years and learned every weakness. Sang-Woo's hidden weapons kept firing. Every time the thought they had destroyed a platform, another would emerge from a different position. The colony itself had become a fortress, but one that looked like civilian infrastructure until the moment it needed to fight. Dongmin's fleet moved like sharks, hitting and running, never staying in one place long enough for weapons to target effectively. His ships were smaller and faster than the enemy capital ships. They darted between the massive vessels, firing at point-blank range before leaping away. "Focus fire on their command ships," Dongmin ordered. "Cut off their coordination." Young Ho's intelligence had identified every flagship, every communication relay, every command vessel in the fleet. Human weapons targeted them with precision. One by one, the chain of command collapsed. On realized too late that he was not hunting prey. He was the prey. "Full retreat," he ordered. "All ships emergency jump." But faster-than-light travel required time to charge. The ships needed 30 seconds to power their jump drives. In a normal battle, they would have that time. But this was not a normal battle. Human missiles tracked the ships preparing to jump. Plasma lances struck their drives at the moment of activation. Some ships managed to escape. Many did not. Explosions marked the positions of vessels that tried to jump with damaged drives. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the fleet was broken. Over 1,200 ships destroyed or crippled. The survivors fled in disorder, jumping to random coordinates just to escape. Titan colony's civilian population emerged from shelters to see debris filling orbit. Burning ships tumbled through space, and human defenders standing victorious among weapons that had looked like mining equipment hours before. Ho walked through the command center studying casualty reports. Humanity had lost ships too. Brave people had died defending their homes, but they had won. Against overwhelming numbers, they had won. "Sir," Young Ho said quietly, "we are receiving surrender requests from 47 damaged vessels. They cannot jump. They cannot fight. They are asking for mercy." Ho thought about 30 years of war, about colonies burned by weapons, about human soldiers who never came home, that deserved no mercy. But he remembered the plan, the long game. This battle was not the end. "Send rescue ships," he ordered. "Recover their escape pods, treat their wounded. Show the galaxy that humanity fights when necessary, but we do not murder those who surrender." His officers stared at him in shock. "Admiral," Dongmin protested, "they came to exterminate us." "I know," Ho said, "and the galaxy will know too, but they will also see what we do next. That is what matters." He opened a channel to Jin on Earth. "The fleet is broken. Begin Phase 2. The broadcast began 12 hours after the battle. Every species in the Galactic Confederation received it simultaneously. Government chambers, public displays, private homes, military headquarters. Everywhere, beings stopped to watch. Ambassador Jin appeared on screen, standing in the United Earth Assembly. Behind her, holographic displays showed evidence. Dates, times, intercepted communications, surveillance footage. Everything humanity had gathered over the past 90 days. "People of the Confederation," she began, her voice steady and clear. "I speak to you today about betrayal, about deception, and about the truth that your leaders have hidden from you." She gestured to the first display. 93 days ago, the Empire offered humanity a peace treaty. They called it the Peace Accord. They promised friendship, cooperation, and security. We signed this treaty in good faith, before witnesses from many of your species. The display showed footage of the signing ceremony. Jin and X shaking hands while the galaxy watched. But while we signed the prepared for war, the display changed to show intercepted communications. These are authentic military orders from the High Command, dated before the treaty was even offered. They reveal the truth. Young-ho had spent days preparing this evidence. Every communication was cross-referenced, impossible to deny. The transmissions showed commanders discussing the attack plan, how they would wait for humanity to disarm, how they would strike when the colonies were defenseless, how they would seize Earth's resources and sell the human population as slave labor. Across the Confederation, beings watched in growing horror. They had presented themselves as the civilized leaders of the galaxy. This showed something else entirely. The peace accord was never about peace, Jin continued. It was a trap. They wanted us to destroy our own defenses. They wanted us helpless, and then they planned genocide. More evidence appeared. Fleet movement logs showing the gathering 3,000 warships while their diplomats spoke of friendship. Supply manifests for a 6-month military campaign. Communications about dividing up human colonies among nobles. On Prime, the capital world, High Chancellor watched the broadcast with growing dread. Around him, his advisors scrambled, trying to contain the damage. "Shut down the transmission," he ordered. "We cannot," an aide replied. "It is broadcasting on every frequency, and it is already being repeated by independent news networks across the Confederation." Jin's presentation continued. "Some may wonder why we are showing you this now. The reason is simple. Yesterday, they attacked our colonies, exactly as their intercepted communications predicted they would, but they found something unexpected." The display showed footage from the battle, ships approaching Titan colony, the hidden defenses activating, the fleet being torn apart by weapons they never suspected existed. "Humanity knew about the trap," Jin said. "We have excellent intelligence services. We intercepted their plans months ago, and we made a choice. We could have refused the treaty and fought immediately, but that would have meant years more war, millions more deaths on both sides." She paused, letting that sink in across the galaxy. "Instead, we chose to prove the truth. We signed their treaty. We appeared to comply. We let them think they had won. And when they revealed their true intentions by attacking defenseless colonies, we showed them that humanity is not so easily conquered." The footage showed human ships emerging from hiding. It showed vessels burning. It showed the enemy fleet in full retreat. "The battle is over, the fleet is broken, but humanity has not pursued them. We have not invaded their worlds. We have not demanded revenge." Jin's expression softened slightly. "Instead, we have rescued over 15,000 sailors from damaged ships. We are treating their wounded in our medical facilities. We are offering them safe passage home." On IV, one of the Confederation's core worlds, Ambassador Him of the People sat in stunned silence. He had known them for centuries. They were the leaders of the Confederation, the species everyone else followed. And now this. "Is it true?" his aide asked quietly. "Look at the evidence," Him replied. "Those communications are authentic. The encryption keys match. The signatures are valid. The humans have proven their case beyond doubt." Similar conversations happened across hundreds of worlds. They had many client species, beings who depended on them for protection and trade. Now all of them questioned that relationship. Jin's broadcast continued. "But we do not bring you this information just to condemn we bring it to propose something better. The current confederation is broken. It allows one species to plan genocide against another, and none of the rest of you knew. That must change." Dr. Young-ho appeared on the broadcast beside her. "Humanity proposes a new structure for the Confederation, one with transparency, one with independent oversight, one where no single species can threaten another without the galaxy knowing. The proposal appeared on displays across space. A reformed confederation with shared intelligence networks, mutual defense treaties that actually meant something, independent courts to resolve disputes, limits on military buildups that applied to everyone equally. "We do not ask for punishment," Jin said. "We ask for accountability. We ask that they accept the same rules as every other species. And we ask that the Confederation become what it always claimed to be, a union of equals." The broadcast ended. For a moment the galaxy sat in silence, processing what it had witnessed. Then the reactions began. On IV, Ambassador Him immediately contacted other species representatives. Within hours, 12 major Confederation members demanded an emergency council session. They could not refuse. On Prime, High Chancellor faced a nightmare. His military commanders reported that their fleet was destroyed. His economy was already failing, and now trade partners were cutting contracts. Worst of all, the humans had outplayed him completely. "They could have destroyed us," he said quietly to his inner circle. "Their intelligence was good enough to know our plans. Their military was strong enough to defeat our fleet. They could have invaded our worlds while our ships burned at Titan. Why did they not?" His chief advisor understood. Because they want something more valuable than revenge. They want to reshape the Confederation itself, and they have given us a choice: adapt or be removed from power. Captain Dongmin's fleet remained at Titan, guarding the colony and the captured vessels. He watched human medical ships moving among the damaged enemy ships, rescuing survivors. "I still do not understand why we saved them," his tactical officer said. "Because Admiral Ho understands something important," Dongmin replied. "We needed to win the battle, but we also need to win the peace. If we slaughter the galaxy sees us as vengeful. If we save them, the galaxy sees us as just." On Earth, Ho watched reports from across the Confederation. The emergency council session was scheduled for 1 week from now. Already, momentum was building for major reforms. Species that had feared power now spoke openly about change. "It is working," Young Ho reported. "Public opinion is shifting. They cannot maintain their position. They have lost too much credibility." "What about their military?" Ho asked. "Can they recover?" "Not quickly. They lost 40% of their fleet. Their economy cannot replace those ships for years, and now their client species are questioning their protection agreements. The empire is collapsing from within." Commander Mina entered the command center, looking exhausted but satisfied. "I have been monitoring internal communications. High Chancellor is facing calls to resign. Their own people are demanding answers." Ho nodded slowly. Everything was proceeding as planned. The battle at Titan was just the beginning. The real victory would come at the emergency council session. Ambassador Jin prepared her presentation for the council. She would stand before the entire Confederation and present humanity's vision for the future, not as conquered subjects seeking admission, not as warriors demanding submission, but as equals offering a better path. Captain One returned to Earth with her special operations teams. They had completed their mission perfectly, crippling enemy capital ships at the critical moment. But she felt uneasy. "We won," she told Ho in his office. "We defeated we exposed their deception, so why does it feel unfinished?" "Because it is unfinished," Ho replied. "We won a battle and started a political revolution, but the real test comes next. Can we turn our enemies into allies? Can we build something better than what existed before? That is the victory that matters." He looked out at Earth, peaceful and beautiful. "They tried to trap us with their peace treaty, but we turned their trap into an opportunity. Now we have a chance to reshape the galaxy itself. That is worth more than any military conquest." The emergency council session approached. The Confederation held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the chaos. 3 months after the Battle of Titan, the Confederation Council chamber filled with representatives from 200 species. The chamber was ancient, built when the Confederation was young. Architects had designed it with their species at the center, elevated above all others. Today, those seats looked different, empty of the confidence that had filled them for centuries. Ambassador Jin stood at the speaker's platform, human for the first time in this space, not as a petitioner but as an equal. Around her, the galaxy watched. "The emergency session is called to order," announced the council arbiter, a crystalline being whose species predated even the Ambassador Jin of Earth will present humanity's proposal for Confederation reform. Jin activated her display. "Thank you. 3 months ago, the Empire attempted to exterminate the human species through deception. They failed. Today, I do not stand here to demand punishment. I stand here to offer partnership." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. High Chancellor sat in the section, his scales dull with stress. His empire was crumbling and he knew it. "The old Confederation was built on trust," Jin continued. "Trust that leaders would act honorably. Trust that powerful species would protect weaker ones. They betrayed that trust, but they are not the first and they will not be the last. The system itself is broken." Her display showed the new proposal. Humanity suggests 3 core changes. First, shared intelligence networks. No species should be able to mobilize for war without others knowing. Second, independent arbitration courts with real authority. Third, mutual defense treaties with automatic triggers, not political decisions. Ambassador Him of IV stood. "And what prevents humanity from using these systems to dominate, just as they did?" "Because the systems apply to everyone equally," Jin replied. "Humanity would have the same restrictions, the same transparency requirements, the same limits on military expansion. We do not seek to replace them. We seek to ensure no one can abuse power like they did." She paused, looking directly at, "including us." The High Chancellor stood slowly. The chamber fell silent. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. "The human speaks truth," said, his voice heavy. "My empire planned genocide. We justified it with economics, with strategy, with lies we told ourselves. But it was genocide. And we failed because humanity proved smarter, stronger, and more honorable than we believed possible." He looked around the chamber. "Many of you fear you wonder what we will do now. I will tell you. We accept humanity's proposal, all of it. We open our military networks to inspection. We submit to independent courts. We accept limits on our power." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Was surrendering dominance. "But I ask one thing in return," he continued, looking at Jin. "Humanity spoke of partnership. We need that partnership. Our economy is collapsing. We have refugee populations from failed military campaigns. We have technologies we cannot maintain. If humanity truly offers alliance, not conquest, we accept." Admiral Ho watched the broadcast from Earth, nodding slowly. This was the moment he had planned for. They were not just defeated, they were converted, turned from enemies into dependent allies. "It is brilliant," Young Ho said beside him. "Understands. He can either resist and watch his empire crumble completely, or he can accept humanity's offer and retain some power. He chooses survival." "More than survival," Ho replied. "He chooses to be part of something better. That is what we wanted all along." In the council chamber, the vote was called. One by one, species representatives stood to support the reforms. The crystalline collective, the aquatic harmony, even species that had been clients voted for change. The reforms passed with overwhelming support. The old Confederation was dead. Something new was being born. Over the following weeks, the transformation accelerated. Engineer Sangwoo led teams to space, sharing human technology in exchange for economic cooperation. The weapons systems that had defeated the fleet became the foundation for new defensive networks that protected everyone. "It is strange," Sang-woo told his team as they worked on a colony. 6 months ago, I designed these weapons to kill them. Now I am teaching them how to build similar systems to defend themselves. But that was the genius of the plan. By sharing technology, humanity created dependence. By offering economic support, they built connections. By treating former enemies with respect, they earned loyalty. Captain One found herself training mixed-species special operations teams. Humans worked alongside soldiers, learning from each other. The suspicion was still there, but it was fatting. "You fight differently than we expected," a commando told her during a training exercise. "We thought humans would be rigid, predictable, like our own tactics, but you adapt constantly." "That is because we had to," one replied. "We were outnumbered, and for 30 years, we survived by being unpredictable. Now we teach you the same skills because the galaxy has real threats. Better we face them together." Commander Mina's intelligence network expanded into a Confederation-wide system. Former enemies shared information, coordinating against pirates and raiders that threatened everyone. The transparency that Jin proposed actually worked. No one could plan secret invasions anymore. "I have reports from the frontier," Mina told a Security Council meeting that included officers. "Raiders from outside Confederation space are probing our borders. 15 attacks in the past month." An intelligence officer studied the data. "These patterns match historical raids that targeted my people decades ago. If we combine our patrol routes and share sensor coverage, we can predict their next attack." "Agreed," Mina said. "Prepare a joint operation." On Earth, Captain Dongmin supervised the integration of human and fleets. His warships, once hidden in asteroid fields, now operated openly. But they were not alone. Vessels flew alongside them, not as enemies but as allies. "It feels wrong," his tactical officer admitted, "fighting with them instead of against them." "War always feels more natural than peace," Dongmin replied. "But peace is harder to build and more valuable to keep. We defeated them in battle. Now we are defeating their empire by making it irrelevant. This is the harder victory." 6 months after the reforms, Ambassador Jin was elected to the Confederation Supreme Council. She was the first human to hold the position, but she would not be the last. The galaxy was changing. High Chancellor requested a private meeting with her. They met in a garden on Earth, away from cameras and politics. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "You could have destroyed my people, taken our worlds, made us slaves like we planned for you. Why did you show mercy?" Jin considered her answer carefully. "Because destruction is easy. Any species can kill, but building something better requires vision." Admiral Ho understood that. "So did I. We did not want to replace the empire with a human one. We wanted something that never existed before, a confederation that actually works." "And you used us to build it," said. "Used our betrayal as the catalyst for change. Used our defeat as proof that the old ways failed. It was manipulation." "It was strategy," Jin corrected gently. "We saw an opportunity and took it, but we also offered you real partnership. The technology we share is genuine. The economic support is real. The security cooperation protects your people as much as ours. Yes, we benefit from dependence, but you benefit from human innovation and protection." Was silent for a moment. Then he laughed, a hissing sound that was surprisingly human. "We tried to trap you with a peace treaty, but you turned it into a real peace. You are better at this than we ever were." In his retirement home in the mountains of Earth, Admiral Ho sat with young Ho, watching the sun set. They were old men now, the war behind them. "Do you think it will last?" young Ho asked. "The peace we built?" "Nothing lasts forever," Ho replied. "But we gave it the best chance possible. We turned enemies into allies through mutual benefit. We built systems that make cooperation profitable and conflict expensive. We showed the galaxy that humanity fights when necessary but prefers to build." He thought about the long journey, The desperate battle at Titan, the careful intelligence work, the political maneuvering, all of it designed not just to win a war but to win the peace that followed. The thought the peace accord was their trap, Ho said quietly. They were wrong. It was always our trap. We just let them think they were the hunters until the moment they became the prey. And then we did something they never expected. We helped them survive. You think they understand now? Young Ho asked. Does, and he is teaching his people. The young who train with Captain One's teams, who work with Sangwoo's engineers, who serve alongside Dongmin's fleet, they are learning a different way. In a generation, they will not remember us as enemies. They will remember us as the species that saved them from themselves. On a colony at the edge of Confederation space, human and engineers worked together to build a new defensive station. A young technician asked her human supervisor about the war. Why did your people fight so well? She asked. We had more ships, better weapons, superior training. How did you win? The human smiled. Because we understood something your leaders did not. The strongest weapon is not the one that destroys your enemy. It is the one that turns them into a friend. Your fleet tried to kill us, but we saw past the battle to the peace that could follow. That is why we won. The technician thought about that as they worked. Around them, two species that had been at war for 30 years built something together. The old hatreds were fading. A new future was emerging. And across the galaxy, other species watched and learned. The humans had done something no one thought possible. They had been trapped, betrayed, and attacked by superior forces. And they had won not just through military skill, but through strategic vision. They had turned a trap into an opportunity. They had converted enemies into allies. They had reshaped an entire galactic civilization. Because humanity understood the long game. And in the long game, the side that builds always defeats the side that only knows how to destroy. Admiral Ho's final log entry sat in the archives, waiting for future generations to read. They thought the peace accord was their trap. They were wrong. It was always ours. We saw 3 moves ahead and turned enemies into friends. That is how humanity survives. That is how we win, not through strength alone, but through vision. Through understanding that today's enemy can be tomorrow's ally if you are smart enough to build that bridge instead of burning it. They tried to exterminate us. We saved them instead. And in doing so, we saved ourselves and built a better galaxy. That is the human way.